What up and welcome back to the Golden Era. We've got a great episode on the doorstep. We've got NBA Finals coming to a close. Can Chicago avoid blowing a second 3-1 finals lead as they head to Chicago for Game 5? Or do the Rockets have a little bit more left in the tank? Once that concludes, we've got a little NBA Draft Lottery preview, some storylines to watch this summer, which should be a pretty entertaining one between the draft and free agency. It's lock and load. Let's get rocking and rolling. Game 5 early on. Chicago up 4-2 within the first 2 minutes, and Javon Stokes says, highlight time! A little backwards dunk. First quarter, all Javon Stokes. Pull up, triple, knots this thing at 10, up by 2, just a couple moments later, pull up Jimmy from the elbow, and Chicago and Stokes are rolling. Continues in the second quarter, kicks things off with a triple. Chicago on top by 3. More Stokes, this time the kick out to Joshua Chapman, who bottoms the 3. Keep it rolling. Stokes another triple, or excuse me, a 2, and he's got Chicago on top. Here comes Houston. McDyess will start things off. Step back triple over Rowan Jamison, and Houston trying to stay close. Darnell Gist getting into the action late in the first half, burying the triple. We go to the half, 48-44, and that's when Nico Ralmjak takes over. Kick out from Dakota Motley. Ralmjak, count him, 3, and it's a 7-point game. 6-point game, Ralmjak, count him, 3 more. That's 6 here early on in the quarter. Ralmjak is feeling it. Get the ball to the man. The screen from Kennard. Pull up, triple, Nico! Triple falls. And Chicago, 11 points in the first 3.5 minutes from Nico Ralmjak. And here come the Bulls. Javon Stokes gets the harm, that falls. Trying to rally him back is Darnell Gist. The triple cuts the massive lead to just ever so slightly less massive, 17. Darnell Gist, the triple, makes it 14. But the avalanche, the rampage would not be denied. Stokes with the wing 3. Here's Ralmjak, and this is just a encapsulation of the challenges for the Rockets. Cannot get it. Offensive board after offensive board before Kevonte Kennard finished things off. We got 1.5 to go and one little exclamation point. Beautiful bounce pass, and the Chicago Bulls are your NBA champions for the first time since the 1998 season. With Michael Jordan at the helm, Chicago redeems themselves from the 3-1 collapse a year ago and are on top of the NBA world. Well, the NBA Finals is over much earlier than we thought it would be. So what does that mean? That means we're jumping into the offseason. We're going to do a NBA Draft Lottery reaction. The Golden State Warriors have 2 picks that could be in the lottery, Dallas and New Orleans, their selections. And we're going to do a little preview of the draft to come. But we're also going to kick it off with 6 summer storylines in 60 seconds. It's probably going to take us longer than 60 seconds, but start the clock. Storyline 1, the Warriors' closing title window. They still need scoring, they still need shooting, and it was seen against Houston that they were not capable of getting both of that. Roll, in his early 30s, not getting any younger. They have $50 million tied up in both Caden Dickerson and Sasha Kasparov next season. How do they find a way back to title contention? Do they use those 2 picks in the lottery? Do they trade them to try to go get a star? What's the next move for Roll, Dixon, Roddy Staley and company in Golden State? 2, the Bulls, the NBA champion Bulls. What are they going to do with the salary cap? The Reinsdorf family, notorious for avoiding paying a heavy luxury tax bill. They didn't pay the luxury tax bill for MJ. They didn't spend for Michael Jordan. Will they spend for Stokes? They are right up against the luxury tax right now for a team that just made 2 NBA finals. Number 3, what comes next for the Phoenix Suns? You've got an aging roster. You've got Cade Cunningham, who's losing value with 3 more years on a deal that signed a year ago. Looks like it's a terrible one and maybe one of the worst in the league considering how much he's going to make. Cleaves is signed for a 4-year extension. How do they get better with limited
appealing assets on their roster and really only having draft picks, but with Jacoby Cleaves, your floor is so high, those picks might not be worth anything.
For what's going to happen with this Cold War in Utah? Will Darius Dixon want a trade out? Will they find some way to rebuild a roster that they've continued to be competitive with if he really pushes his way out the door and if he pushes his way to try to play with his brother?
Number 5, will a team in the middle just throw in the white flag? Look at the Eastern Conference. The Bucks in the first round lost in 5 games. The Pacers got swept. The Hornets lost in 5 in the conference semifinals. The Magic went down 3-0 before losing in 6. Do any of those teams just throw in the towel, say, we've got a star guard, does anybody want him? We're going to take the picks and figure it out later. I'm going to tell you, I don't think Orlando does it, considering they already gave away all their picks, but between Milwaukee, Indiana, Charlotte, somebody else we don't know about, could that be the case? How about free agency for our last thing? There's no stars on the table, but there's some very talented starting caliber players, the best among them, Davis Montgomery, who was a really great piece for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Few contenders, though, have cap space. So do these players, these really good role players, these starting caliber guys, do they take discounts to play on teams like Boston that are missing a piece or two? Or do they go to some of the young up-and-coming teams like Philadelphia, Toronto, Detroit, or the Clippers, who kind of look like they've got the framework of what Houston just did last year with some young pieces and what Chicago did before them, but those teams we just mentioned, no playoff experience. Is it worth that learning curve to go to one of these teams with the cap space so you can get paid?
A quick peek at our lottery odds. Top of the list is Atlanta via Portland, Cleveland, Denver, and then Golden State via New Orleans rounds out our top 4. This is top 16, but let's be honest, the likelihood is our number 1 pick is probably coming from these teams. Let's start the lottery. Kick things off at number 16. We're going to stay with the LA Clippers. The Raptors are going to hold on to number 15. The Lakers are going to hold 14, and we're going to get a lot of status quo here through the first handful of picks. The Knicks coming in at number 12 as expected. At 11, it's Detroit coming in there. And then at number 10, Golden State, the first of their 2. That's going to be theirs at number 10 as well. Move to number 9, it's the Wizards, as expected. At 8, it's Detroit before things get spicy. Atlanta supposed to pick at 7. No, sir, it's Dallas. And that means Golden State going from number 4 down to number 6. A disastrous fall for the Warriors. Denver, nope, it's going to be Atlanta with their own pick. And then we've got the Sixers at number 4. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers come in at number 3. And that means after Denver goes number 2, which we didn't capture, Atlanta, their own pick Atlanta, jumping from number 7 to number 1. It's Atlanta, Denver, Cleveland, Philadelphia, our top 4. The Hawks, number 1 and number 5. Golden State drops all the way to number 6, a team that's trying to add a piece, a young piece to a aging roster. Not going to necessarily get one of the stars, because who are the stars? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's dive into that. This is a class that has 6 guys at the top of it, somewhere between All-Star and All-NBA upside. There's 4 guys that are going to come in, according to The Athletic, as All-NBA upsides. Number 1 is E.J. Robinson, a wing out of Baylor, 6'8", 215. He's got all the size and skill sets that you would like to have from a 3 or a 4. Very athletic. He's an inside-the-arc shot creator, extremely physical, gets downhill, finishes well through traffic, and a good three-point shot, serviceable, not yet, a really dangerous item, but if he becomes that, he goes from being a slashing scoring wing to just an absolute dominant 6'8" forward at the next level. Number 2 is Wisconsin's Adrian Parker. Just a huge athlete. Very great on the defensive side of the ball. Two-way. He's 6'10", 215. So he's a forward. He can play the 5 with his defense. He could probably defend all 5 positions. He is a downhill threat offensively and a lockdown defender on the defensive side. Number 3 prospect is Randall Wingate. He played the 5 at LSU, but he's a little undersized, 6'8", 225. He's not quite your small ball 5 in the playmaking realm of a Draymond Green or an R.J. Wallace, but he's very physical. He's going to be a guy that if you put next to a stretch 5 maybe, or next to a 4 that can play both defensive positions and can space the floor. Randall Wingate can be a real difference maker. And then the fourth All-NBA upside guy is Cortez Thomas out of Providence. Dynamic playmaking point guard. He's 6'5", so that gives him the size and the versatility to play either guard position. High IQ, great in the mid-range, good athlete, not quite a three-point shooter. There's not many three-point shooters at the top of this class, 33% in his 2 years at Providence. He's coming out as a sophomore. And then there's two all-star upside guys. Number 5 is Cameron Rowe. He's out of Duke. Really good playmaker as well. He had 5.6 assists, 6'4", 184, can play either of those guard positions as well. He's more of a project. Unlike the way that these top 4 guys are, Cameron Rowe has a lot of the skill sets the scouts like, but it's just going to take him a little bit to get there. And then Mac Rollins out of Syracuse, really good scorer, 12 points per game, 7 boards, 6'9", 233, so he can play either of those wing positions. Did shoot 34% from deep for the Orange, but his size is really going to be what's exciting for some prospect, or from a scout perspective, can really be a difference maker at the next level if given that runway. Again, more all-star upside because of that lack of playmaking, just 2.1 assists per game. He might not reach that All-NBA level, but certainly a very high ceiling for Mac Rollins.